Let's expand the conversation with SA Police Union National Spokesperson Lesiba Thobakgale, who joins us for a conversation. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time, Lesiba. We heard the National Police Commissioner today committing to continuously improving service offerings to communities, and that in intensifying compliance inspections at all police stations and service points. We listened to some of the interventions that have taken place. What are your thoughts?
Thank you for having us. From our perspective, indeed, we commend the work that the police are doing, because we can see the efforts that the police are doing in fighting crime. I mean, if 745 people were convicted for cases like gender-based violence, whereas amongst them 129 were given life sentences, that is really telling you that the efforts that are being made by the police must be appreciated, and they also need to be supported in the quest of all efforts that they are making to fight against crime. And we have seen even last week, Sunday, in that media briefing where the National Commissioner really briefed the nation about the advances that they have made when it comes to those cases of extortion and the types of attacks that our members faced there in Umtata, and also, you know, the type of the confrontations that our police faced in KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape, and also in Mpumalanga and Kwaggafontein, and also the successes that came about where the police were confronted with the CIT robbers in Gauteng, in Germiston. So all of these reports, inclusive of what the National Commissioner has shown today in terms of the successes, that is telling us that even Operation Shanyela itself, it is bringing results. For us as a union, we commend the police for what they are doing and those efforts. All they need to be supported in terms of budget. That is one of the issue that is really, it is quite troubling, because since COVID came, we have seen that the budget cuts did not spare South African police services in order for them to get enough budget so that they can be able to recruit and also be able to have a retention strategy that could assist, because we are also aware of the issue of the shortage of detectives. As much as we appreciate 201 reenlistment of detectives, but we know that the shortages are quite high. We need to have even more. But budgetary provisions, they stand in the center of it all. But all in all, the efforts that are being made by the police should be appreciated and even supported even more by the members of the community.
Yeah, and it's important that you mention members of the community, because with the SAPS at the coalface of the criminal justice system, a lot of hope is pinned on police to ensure that the work they do continues to inspire confidence in the system. But we do know that it's not always the case, as communities show and express their distrust in officers who are sometimes involved in crime themselves, or even fail to respond to crime in their communities. What interventions do you think are needed to restore public trust in the police? I know you've just mentioned an entire paragraph of some of the good that police do, but we cannot ignore that there also is an element of bad and distrust when it comes to police in South Africa.
It is true, yes, that there are some bad elements that are found within the South African police services, whom there are processes that that gets to be followed in order to deal and put aside those bad elements. But when we are looking at majority of our members, they are doing what is expected of them. That is why we have such high convictions, as it was reported by the National Commissioner, is because of efforts that are being made by the police. I mean, in Parliament this week alone, there was another member of FCS who is from Limpopo, who was acknowledged by Parliament in terms of her breakthrough in some cases that relates to sexual violence and so on. That is really telling us that our police are doing what they have to do. But to address this issue of, trust that is quite shaking between the issue of, between the police and the members of society. We need to at all times encourage and also make efforts to say that the police and the community needs to work together, because this thing of having the police on the other side and the members of the community on the other side, it does not help.
Yeah.
So we need to really come closer, and we can only be able to achieve that by strengthening community policing forum, where the community even have to get a platform to really voice out their concerns as they see it fit, without those issues going out of control, so that management of the police can clearly be able to take a stance. Where they need to rectify, they can do that, so that we can continue to hold hands with the members of the society.
Yeah.
But if the trust deficit is still existing, then we will still continue to see the disparities, and we don't want to have disparities existing between the police and the members of the community.
I know you touched on budget being a big driving factor in improving the situation, and one of the other biggest problems that the SAPS faces is the increasing population that new police recruitments simply cannot keep up with. I know factors like insufficient resources, low morale of members can make up some of the big challenges. What would you say are some of the other most pressing internal challenges and the state of police in South Africa today?
Yeah, we are glad that you touched the issue of the morale of the police. The budgetary provisions, they also affect when it comes to the issues of conditions of service, which include issues like your grade progression, which is one of the issues that as we speak, we have tabled it in the bargaining council, which is really affecting the morale of the police, because that deals with their upward mobility. It really deals with, more money coming into the pockets of the police officers. So that is one of the issues, because if you really do not take care of issues of the conditions of service, also go into the issue of the incorporation of the Public Service Act members into the Police Act. All of those issues, if really they are not taken care of, then you'll keep on having members who really their morale seems to, it really gets to be down. Kanti, you need to make sure that you deal with all of those issues that really affects, more especially when it comes to the benefits that they have to get, when it comes to anything that has to do with the conditions of service that relates to our workers. And further to that,
yeah.
I think we know the issue of police killings. There is no way that we will not talk about it, because that on its own, where members, when they tie their boots in the morning, they are not too sure whether they will be able to come back to their homes. So without really having permanent solutions to deal with the issue of police killings, we will continue to also still see it affecting us, where some would just think, instead of me being, going and being killed whilst in the police, let me just go work for a private investigation company. Let me go work for a private security company. Let me go and look for greener pastures. And at that time, you are losing that skill. You are losing that experience that you need. And when we touch the 10,000 that comes in, unfortunately, they are just coming in to close the gaps of those who have left, because when you look at the numbers of those who are leaving are quite big every month. So we really need to have a strategy, a retention strategy that would really work, and have the police being able to attract even more young people who would come, and we see the numbers growing, not just to replace the numbers that we have lost.
Absolutely. Thank you for speaking to us this evening. SA Police Union National Spokesperson Lesiba Thobakgale there, expanding on the topic around crime and boosting the SAPS.